Welcome, everyone, to a Monday edition of the Blue Review. We are happy to be here talking Dodgers after an interesting weekend. We'll get into the entire series against the Astros. We'll get into some of these trade deadline rumors as we are nearly 24 with some change hours away. So lots to talk about here. I'm excited. I hope everyone else is excited. And as you roll into the chat, quick reminder, be sure to send some questions our way. We will always be here to react to everything um, and then some. So I'm just going to honestly get straight into it. Before we get into this, though, our friends at LAX, of course, our sponsor here on the Blue Review. So at Los Angeles International Airport, they are just doing the best for the guests. Travel experience is just changing. They're reducing traffic, saving all of us time. So if you want to learn more, check it out at flylax.com/transforming LAX. So Marcus, we had a lot of talk about the bullpen. I'm just going to get straight into the negatives. During this weekend, the bullpen had some issues. Where are you on some of our high leverage arms as they're starting to not look so good recently?
Yeah, it's a concern, and I think that you point out rightly that it is the high leverage arm. It's the guys that they have counted on for a good chunk of the year to get outs for them late. I mean, so it is obviously Evan Phillips is maybe the headliner here, but Daniel Hudson's had his issues. Blake Trinan's had problems. Alex Vesia has had issues. So all these guys who had really been the core of the bullpen for a good chunk of the season now all seem to be having issues all at the same time and all right before the trade deadline too, which is sort of making it worse because you already had the issues of needing starting pitching. You're already trying to find maybe another bat or another outfield or something like that. Now all of a sudden it looks like your bullpen is going to be a major issue as well. It was bleak, Greg, and it happened nearly twice in the same fashion. Like we see Justin Robleski have a really great start on Saturday. The bullpen ends up imploding. Then on Sunday, River Ryan has a great start. And, the bullpen, Vesia comes in, gives up the home run. Thankfully, they hold it together. But, I think that's my big takeaway from this weekend, Greg. The bullpen needs a lot of help.
Yeah, I think there's the bullpen needs a lot of help. Third base, the infield needs a lot of help. The outfield needs a lot of help. The frontline starters need a lot of help. Basically, every part of this team needs a lot of help right now. But that's what happens in this part of the season. So, I mean, we've talked about it just from the beginning of the season, Marcus, that what your bullpen is very volatile. It can change at a moment's notice. And they've been putting so much pressure on these guys through the entire year that now it's all starting to come up in like, okay, the guys that you count on have been used way too much and they're starting to get tired. That's why your bullpen at the beginning of the year is never your bullpen at the end of the year. And that's where we're at right now. Your bullpen at the beginning of the year is what it was now and then is the exact same thing. So it's not going to always work out. It's too volatile, and that's why they need to go out. They need to get more arms, and or on the other hand, they need to let these guys rest. They have too many innings on them. They're just too stressed. It's going to happen sometime that in the middle of the beginning of August, end of July, that they're going to start getting a little tired. They've been overworked, and you don't want a bullpen that's overworked in the end of the season. So it's going to be this is why bullpen management is so important. You need those wins at the beginning of the season and need to get these guys playing well, but also they're taxed. It just happens to all bullpens.
It does, but especially it just feels obviously we are the ones watching this team very closely every single day. It also just feels magnified when it feels like the manager doesn't trust the starters to get through six, right? I mean, you have Robleski, who's pitching really, really well. He gets into a spot of trouble at 5 2/3. They go get him. The bullpen implodes. Next day, River Ryan pitching very well through 5 2/3. Gets into a spot of trouble. You go get him. The bullpen gives up a home run. And at some point, it's, I know you want to protect the young guys. You want to protect their arms, but I think also giving them the space and the confidence to sort of stretch out a little bit and maybe pitch out of some trouble, second, third time through the lineup. I think it goes a long way toward helping those guys. And also, as you mentioned, it gives your bullpen just a little more rest instead of managing this like it was an October series and you're trying to count 27 outs.
Totally agree. There's so many times where we judge starting pitchers on how they get out of trouble. Walker Buehler, when he was at his very, very best, would have bases loaded, nobody out, and he would get out of it. And like, I trust that guy to get out of it. Doesn't seem like Dave or Andrew Friedman, we're just going to put it on Dave. Dave is trusting these guys to get out of that inning. Wrobleski was just skating through the entire game. That sixth inning was a little bit trouble. He had runners on first and third. He did get it to 2 outs, and they taking him out just seemed like the wrong decision. I get why they did it, because you just want to get out of it and hold that lead, but you want to see how these guys perform in those situations. River, Ryan too. Again, I get it, young arms, rookies, but still, let's see what they do in those situations, whether they implode or they just find something within them to get a strikeout or a pop-up or a ground out, whatever it happens to be. And they did not give that to them in that situation. I mean, I get it that it was 3 times through the lineup. Still, I wanted to see it.
I want to see it, and I'm just of the opinion. I know you don't ever want to, quote, give away games or anything like that, but at some point they've just got to let somebody try to go as deep as they can. They just have to. They got to get rest. They've got to get these arms kind of back in order again, right? I mean, you don't know what to do with Phillips. He's pitching all over the place. He's in the 7th. He's in the 8th. He's pretty much everywhere but the 9th. They're using Brent Honeywell right now to come in the 9th inning and close games, because you don't know what you're going to get out of Trinan or Dan Hudson or anything like that right now. Not only are these guys taxed, but now there's just a complete shuffling of duties too. Everybody's trying to figure out what their responsibilities. I mean, I get it. It's still July for a couple more days. There's still a long time to sort of put things together, but this is about as chaotic as the bullpen has been in a while. I feel like
really, really a long time, and because they had been pretty good. But let's talk about Phillips for just a second here. Yeah, Phillips is a guy that I don't understand what's going on with him. He's walking guys now, and also. See, I see things a little bit different than other people. Like I liked him as the closer. I thought he was doing well as the closer. He got injured and then he came back and he was just like kind of figuring himself out. But they started to move him around. It seems like what they wanted out of him was to be that fireman role and so they all of a sudden started using him in the 6th and the 7th and in those 3 when it was 1, 2, 3 or 3, 4, 5 and like the important outs, which I get, but. I've talked about it, this old school mentality that I've always had when it comes to a closer. They get mindsets, and their mindset of coming in the 9th and in those pressure situations, the 9th inning, like I'm closing this out, this is ending the game. It's different than when you come in, even if it is 3, 4, 5 in the 6th inning. I don't know if that's what's going on with him, but the fact of the matter is, ever since they've been moving him around and not playing him in the 9th, he's been a disaster. He's been giving up runs. He's been giving up home runs, walking guys, hits. He's just not the same guy. Now, I would not trust him in the 9th as he's pitching right now. But something's going on with Evan Phillips, and I'm just not sure what it is. And I think at that point now, you kind of got to go after a guy like Tanner Scott because you need an actual closer.
So that was going to be my next question to you, Greg. As we mentioned earlier, 24 hours and some change towards the deadline. Tanner Scott, is he your number one guy? Are there a couple other high leverage arms that are on your radar, or right now is it just Tanner Scott? Let's get a full-fledged closer. I mean, Estevez just went out to Philly, so other teams are going after high leverage closers to bolster their bullpen as they go towards the playoffs.
Yep.
So I would say, Tanner Scott would be on my top list, but I don't know, Marcus, do you have another name maybe in mind?
I mean, look, Estevez was the guy that I was sort of targeting. I know we always talk about the Angels and whether or not they'd actually deal with the Dodgers. So to see him go to Philly was a little disappointing. Obviously the Mason Miller thing was kind of a pipe dream just because the asking price was going to be so high for him. So I guess Tanner Scott probably is the best of the, what's left available right now.
So I see in the chat, of course, there's names that, have not really been healthy this year. Like we're seeing Kelly kind of ramp into things. Where is Bruzdar in terms of like when he comes back, which hopefully, last we heard it was by the end of the month, and well, it's the end of the month. So, but once he comes back, I know it's going to take a minute to ramp up, but is that another arm that maybe you can see giving us some good innings as we need it right now?
As you put up there from Jasmeet, it's like, you're getting Bruzdar, Grove, and possibly Brazier back. There's arms. So it's not about so much about the middle relief arms that are there. Like Alex Vezzi is a middle relief. Bruzdar is probably a more back end, but still not the closer type role. And Brazier is also that kind of guy. You need to make sure that they're all healthy. It's still getting pretty fast. But if you're going to go out and get bullpen help, that's your best bullpen help. But you need an actual true closer. You need somebody to come in and shut games down. So Tanner Scott right now seems like the only other guy that there is, because you mentioned it. Other teams are going out and they're getting stuff done. The Diamondbacks got relief help. Phillies taking Estevez, they're getting relief help. There's relief help is going all over the league, except for what's going on with the Dodgers. So I don't want middle relief guys. I need that one true closer. And I really, for most of this, you heard me say it over and over again, Marcus. Closer's not a problem. Well, now it's a problem. Go get Tanner Scott.
Yeah, it's never a problem until it is. I think in terms of what the bridge guys to get you from the 6th until the 9th, there's plenty of those guys, right? Yeah. In a pinch, they can call guys up from OKC if they need to and do that sort of thing. You're right. It's getting those it's getting outs, 25, 26, 27 that they're really looking for help right now. And I'm kind of with you on the moving Phillips around thing, because now it's sort of like, well, what am I doing? Like, who am I? What is my role? What am I preparing for? It's a different situation coming in with a guy or two on in the 7th versus starting the 9th inning, starting with a clean inning, trying to get those final 3 outs. I get the idea of trying to use him in lower leverage situations, but I also sort of wonder, because Greg, that hasn't worked either. I mean, we've seen that sort of blow up in his face. So you wonder whether or not it is just about getting his mindset right, try giving him another 9th inning and seeing if he can sort of right the ship. Because at some point I just feel like it's mental more than anything.
It seems to be that. I mean, you brought him in a low leverage situation. He was up 5-0. Yeah. And he came in and he started giving up runs. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe it's another IL stretch. Maybe it's something drop. Like, there's got to be something to do to fix him. I don't know. I think
you mentioned Saturday too, and I was really trying to figure out how I felt about the Saturday. Like, obviously the end result was terrible. It was terrible, right? But it wasn't like he was getting lit up, right? It wasn't a whole bunch of line drives or deep shots. I mean, it was a lot of soft contact. It was a swinging bunt here. It was a little flare that just dropped in over there. So, like, on the one hand, you're like, okay, well, he wasn't giving up hard contact, but on the other side, he wasn't getting a lot of swings and misses either. And so it was incredibly, frustrating is probably the best word for it, for what I saw Saturday.
Yeah, just frustrating is all you can say about it. But I don't know. This trade deadline, I know it's tomorrow, and we're all kind of excited about it. But what do you think is the most important thing? I don't even know anymore. Like I said before, you need outfield help. You need infield help. You need starting pitching help. You need relief help. What is the most important thing? And by the way, just real fast before you answer that, every team is going through this. If you're in the top of your division, you're going through this right now. Everybody is not playing well. Like the Orioles have only won 5 of their last 10. The Yankees 4 of their last 10. The Phillies 3 of their last 10. The Dodgers have actually 7 of their last 10.
7 and 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So but for the most part, everybody's going through pains.
Yeah, it's funny. I tweeted my frustration about the Dodger bullpen on Saturday, and I got a response from a friend who's a Yankees fan. He's like, we would kill to go through what the Dodgers bullpen is going through right now, which I think, says a lot about how Yankee fans are feeling at the moment. Biggest need, I mean, I still think, well, geez, I was going to say starting pitching. Now I'm feeling like, though, it is probably like a utility guy. If you can get another bat that can play some third base, can play some outfield. I mean, just with, I haven't seen any updates on Chris Taylor after he was injured, last week. Now you worry about Miguel Rojas and how long-term that sort of thing is. We've got Freddie Freeman obviously on the emergency family list, and certainly, wishing all the best for him and his family.
Absolutely.
But for now, that is another piece missing from this lineup. I mean, you had Kevin Biggio playing first base the last couple of days, and so now it does feel like getting another bat, another glove, another guy who can sort of do multiple things and give you some decent offense. That seems like it's jumped to the top of the list.
Yeah, I think I need a bat, a true bat, and really it's either third base or out center field for me. So a guy like, Jasmine says the same thing. Thank you for putting that up, Parker, or Graham, whoever put it up. Like that center field spot, having a true center fielder, because I know that James Outman hit a home run yesterday, but just hasn't been the James Outman that we know, that we learned of last year. So there's you need something else. And my biggest worry, and I see it going all throughout the chat as well today, my biggest worry is they're going to go into this trade deadline tomorrow and just say, I like our team. Yeah. I like our team, and we don't need to give up all of this stuff. We don't need to do all these different things, because I know we have people coming, and then we're relying on everybody coming back. There's so many people on the IL. Not all of them are going to come back, and not all of them are going to come back as we want them to, and not all of them are going to come back and be somebody that is actually reliant upon. I mean, I don't trust Walker Buehler coming back and being healthy and pitching well. I don't trust Bobby Miller coming back and doing that. I trust River Ryan and Justin Robleski for the regular season, but I don't trust them in the postseason. You know what I mean? No, I don't trust that Max Muncy is going to come back. I truly, truly hope that Mookie Betts is the one guy that really comes back and is great. But besides that, I don't know who else is going to come off that IL and just fix this team outside of Mookie.
No, your fear is mine too, that they look around and they're like, hey, if we just get healthy, we're going to be fine and we can just roll with this team. And, there's just, as you said, there's no guarantees that everybody's going to be healthy or that they're going to come back and just start playing the way they did before they were injured. It's scary because it feels like, one, the chatter has sort of died down and now they're just sort of honing in maybe on one thing. Maybe it's a Crochet or somebody like that. But as you mentioned earlier, with all the other teams around them making moves and swapping pieces, it just, you're sort of looking around and you're waiting for the Dodgers to do something because sure, they will win the division barring something catastrophic. But I don't know. Certainly right now with all these injuries, this team is definitely not good enough to win in October, but even, depending on who comes back, they still might not be good enough in October.
No, yeah. And we say, okay, of course they're going to win the division. It's now 6.5 games. And then now you have the Padres who went out and got help. They got relief help that we haven't gone and done yet. They're playing much, much better baseball. I haven't looked at their August schedule.
7-3.
Yes. And also I've not looked at their August schedule, but I have looked at our August schedule. And the schedule that we have in August is very, very, very hard. So this is not going to be, this is a make or break month for this team. They play the Orioles, they play the Phillies, they play Pittsburgh, they play a bunch of teams that are all above 500. The only easy team that they have on there is the A's this weekend. That's it. I mean, we get two versus the Padres coming up on tomorrow and Wednesday, but then it's the A's and then it's all just top teams, all teams that are above 500 and playing very good baseball. So I mean, you can't trust that 6.5 game lead is going to stick, especially with what they have right now. You're pitching rookies as starters. It's everybody are guys that are either like AAA hitters for the most part. Look, I love Kike, but he's not a high level starter on offense. Yeah. Like you don't no Mookie, no Freddie, no anybody. Like I don't have that full faith that if they're not healthy soon, they're going to hold that 6.5 game lead, Parker.
And well, I mean, to that point, honestly, where they finish in the NL doesn't matter. It's all about being healthy as they go into the playoffs. But that is a big note because really it's like Gavin Lux is the only one performing right now outside of obviously the big names, Teo, Shohei, and Freddie, which again, we hope Freddie all the best and we hope that he'll be
family
back
first.
soon, family first. But we'll get a chance to see kind of how are these hobbled, injured Dodgers going to fare against the Padres as they face them tomorrow and Wednesday. Really cool matchup. Cease, who we saw throw that no-hitter last week, facing Kershaw. So that'll be kind of it's always cool to see Kershaw against the rival. So that'll be an exciting matchup. But there was at least a trade this morning. I don't think we've mentioned it so far.
I mean,
with the Tigers.
See ya, Ricky.
With the Tigers. Of course, Ricky Vanasco for cash considerations to the Tigers. So as we've been mentioning all week, no Skubal. That's just not happening. The Tigers aren't getting rid of him.
Yeah, the Tigers wised up. Like, why? So
right. But I don't know, guys. There's going to be a lot that we're going to have to react to coming up soon. I'm going to go ahead and vet the chat, see if there's any good questions on our way.
Sure.
But if you have anything more, it's all you.
Yeah. So for the most part, Marcus, like, do you think they have to be doing something? It's been frustrating for me, and I don't know if it was for you, is that we're seeing all these other teams going out and making moves. Even the Cubs are making moves, getting Isaac Paredes from the Rays. Like that was a guy that was somebody that we wanted here in LA, a third baseman. You start seeing all these moves prior to the trade deadline. I don't really like the idea that they were waiting for the trade deadline, but I mean, hopefully they have to do something,
They have
right?
to do something. They have to make some kind of move. I mean, and even look, even if it is that they just go and get starting pitching, right? Because that's the thing that we've been saying that for weeks. You know, a lot of these other things have sort of come and gone. They have, raised in priority or whatever based on recent events. But the one thing that's been constant is needing another arm in that rotation. And so even if that's the big splash, I mean, I think they just can't stand pat, because I think you will see panic throughout the fan base if suddenly they decide that this is the team we're going to go to battle with for the playoffs. You really are putting all your eggs in the hey, let's get everybody healthy basket, and that's a tough place to be.
That's a terrible place to be. And I think, look, to be honest, if they all did come back healthy, I'd feel great about this team. I feel like they're going to run through the postseason. I mean, not win every game, but they'd run through it. They win I would still put them as the favorite to win the World Series if everybody came back healthy. But you just can't rely on everybody to come back healthy. Right now, I'm feeling like the Dodgers are taking a page out of the Lakers front office book, which I hate to say because that's a disaster right now, not doing anything. It feels kind of like the same situation right now. They're like, we like our guys. If we just need to get healthy.
Yeah, except I mean, the difference is like with the Lakers, and I know this isn't a Lakers show, but like they are sort of hamstrung by a lack of real assets to go out and do stuff. Like that's not an excuse the Dodgers have, right? The Lakers can say, well, hey, look, nobody's interested in the trade pieces. We don't have a lot of money to spend, but the Dodgers have plenty of money. They have plenty of prospects. They have plenty of talent to trade. So like not doing anything feels like a major failure.
So would you, if you were Andrew Friedman, Brandon Gomes, would you just empty your farm system for a guy like Tariq Skubal? I know it's probably not going to happen. It's not going to. They need to be overwhelmed. Would you overwhelm them? If that's your only move.
I might, yeah. Because again, he's a guy that you still have under team control for a couple of years, so it's not a rental. I think you figure out the starting rotation next year, right? Because you're gonna have a lot of arms next year in theory, right? You'll still have Glass now and Yamamoto, and then Shohei will be back, and you would have Skubal and Gavin Stone. That's a problem for future Friedman. But for now, for present Friedman, I think it's worth it to try to make this run if you can.
Yeah, I still believe it. Give it all up for him. I would go after Luis Robert as well. Maybe just leave Crochet to the side. If you get Crochet, great. That was a really weird statement from him. I'm hoping that wasn't him and that was just his agent. But either way, hopefully those are the guys that I would go absolutely hard after. Somebody that can play outfield defense, an infielder, and a starter, which is probably not going to happen at this point.
Why are the Cubs adding pieces, by the way?
That is a great question, Marcus.
They're 5 games out of the second wild card. They're 10 games out in the division. I mean, do they really have hope?
That seems like a hope for next year.
Yeah.
They're building. Yeah. Which also means that nobody's got they were supposed to be a seller.
Right. If the sellers are building for next year, then what does that mean?
No, and then the teams that are sellers, the asking price is just so high. Like I think I was reading earlier this morning that the asking price for Tanner Scott's 2 top 15 prospects. I mean, really for a rental, this market is really weird this year. Maybe that's why the Dodgers are staying pat.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's going to be really tough to see the Dodgers just run with the same team, being as injured as they are. So we'll go ahead and close this one out today. Greg, I'll let you close us out. But gosh, man, a lot to get into. And of course, the Dodgers will be back. Is it tomorrow?
Tuesday.
I believe tomorrow.
Yeah, they're off today. Play tomorrow. Yeah.
Yep. Well, hopefully tomorrow is a much, much happier Blue review. I mean, I thought it was a good conversation all the way around, but tomorrow, hopefully trade deadline. We won't get a lot, at least on Wednesday. There should be, as long as there are moves, we're going to have Bruce Kuntz on again, who's going to tell us all about all the prospects that they hopefully move tomorrow at some point. So we'll do a lot of that and pieces that come in as well. So thank you very much for coming on the Blue Review. Make sure to be here tomorrow. Trade deadline special tomorrow. So we'll try and do as much as we can for that. So thank you very much. Come be here every day, 9:30 to 9:55 on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. And thank you to Marcus. Thank you to Parker. We'll see you tomorrow.